Well, March is Women's History Month, and as we honor the women in our lives, we should also work to elevate their voices too, and that includes in medical care. With what we need to know about advocating for our health and helping women in our lives to get the care they need is Dr. Eudene Harry. She's back with us this morning. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, Dr. Harry, talk about why it is so important to amplify women's voices in healthcare.
It's so important to amplify our voices because what we're finding out is that there might be a little bit of discrepancy between the care that women get and the care that men get. So we really want women to be able to be comfortable, to speak up, to express their concerns so that we're able to bridge that gap.
I love that. And I think that is the big concern, is having us feel comfortable when we're talking to our doctors. So you did come up with a list of things that women should do to put themselves in control of their health. So we're going to go ahead and go through them. The first one you say is to be prepared when we have these appointments. So how do we go about doing that?
Well, being prepared means that you want to come with, write it down if you have to, a list of your symptoms, when it started, how long it's been going on, what makes it better, what makes it worse. You want to have your medications that you're taking. Any supplements that you're taking might also be important. Family history is important as well. So these are all things that you want to have just at your fingertips, because sometimes when we get there, we get a little bit flustered.
We do. We get flustered. We get confused about what we're supposed to ask, what we shouldn't ask. And that kind of leads into the next two tips that you have, is don't be afraid to voice those concerns. So why do you think that's very important and an important reminder for us women?
So it's so important to voice your concern. Even if your concern is, my concern is, I'm concerned that you may not hear me. I am concerned that you may not take me seriously. Other concerns might be, you know, my grandmother had a certain illness and I feel that I have similar symptoms, or I have such a strong family history of A, B, C, and D. I am concerned that maybe I might be showing signs and symptoms of that. Expressing those concerns really lets your physician, one, know what you're concerned about, but also, two, he gets to see you as a person there asking for help and giving him all the information he needs.
And that is so necessary too. Well, the next thing you say to do is you're asking women to check on their physical health, and that starts with checking your breast once a month. So how do we do that at home?
So it's important to know what your breasts look and feel like, notice if there are any changes, because the truth of the matter is many times we go to a gynecologist or family physician maybe once a year, and so they're seeing us and they're examining a series of breasts during that time. You want to be familiar with your own breasts, so you want to look at the color, any changes, any discharge, any dimpling. All of those things are really important for you to look at.
And another thing that's very important too is to know your numbers, especially when it comes to heart health.
It's so important to know your numbers because we know that things like high blood pressure increases our risk of heart disease. We know cholesterol levels. For women, it's really important to also know your blood sugar levels because we have different risk factors for that. If you had, for example, gestational diabetes, you might be at more increased risk. So important to know those numbers, ladies.
And lastly, you say that we should check our skin.
Especially when we're living in these sunny climates. It's so important to check your skin because you want to look at changes in the size of moles. You want to look at irregularities. You want to look at growth. Another important thing is that oftentimes we may not think we need to look at the palms and the soles of our feet, but that's so important. We also need to examine our nails as well because there could be changes that's happening in that. So those home checks are so important because you can immediately point those out to your physician when you get to your visit.
Dr. Harry, a lot of great information here. Where can people go to learn more about it?
Go to drharry.com and join my conversation there.
All right, well, we'll do that. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's so timely because it is Women's History Month. Thank you again, Dr. Harry.
Thank you for having me.